I just love them. So they are the backbone of my company. So that's what I do full time. And um, other than that, yeah, I'm enjoying life and that's it.
Short and sweet, as they would say, right?
Yes.
Right. So when we first connected, we started speaking. You mentioned that you went through like a romance scam and not once but twice. So bring us up to speed and touch on life after that situation for you.
Yes. Well, when I was first divorced, just to recap a little bit from our previous podcast, I was first divorced after a long-term marriage, a few years, and then I went online, and then that's when I met what I refer to since then as the hustler. And he was out to hustle women of their money as much as he could. I know three of his ex-wives, three, been married probably at least 5 times by this time. So I was one of those along the way. I was very, very fortunate to have not married. I had a coworker who spotted the lies and deception, and I'm so thankful for that coworker way back in the day. And so that was the first one. And I didn't know anything. I'd been married since 20. Didn't know, very naive and innocent. And then just maybe last January of last year, then I met someone at the gym. Oh, super nice, friendly, all that, very attentive. And then he wasn't really after money. Maybe ultimately he was, but he was what's called a future faker. And I had to look that up after I saw the signs. I'm like, what is this? It's all our whole relationship, or budding relationship, I should say, because it had a 2 month shelf life, was all based on the future. What were trips we're going to take, what I'm going to do for you, what is going to happen. Nothing ever happened. I'm going to buy you this expensive, this and that, and this and that. I'm not much for that, like expensive jewelry or clothes. I mean, I'm really a simple person. And so that wasn't an appeal, but that's what he would say. I'm going to buy you this perfume, $400 an ounce. I've never even smelled anything like that. So I don't even know, but just future trips and stuff like that. And having been through the first one, I just recognized the signs. I recognized the recoiling once I started asking a couple questions, and then the gig was up. But it did result in my fifth book, which is a shameless promotion, The Heart Swindler: Reclaim Your Heart and Stop Falling for Liars, Losers, and Lunatics. So it did have some really good results to it, which the book is a bestseller and landed on a couple of #1 lists. And how people can contact me, as your second part of your question, is on LinkedIn, and all under Winning Proof. LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, X, and I do not do TikTok.
Not yet, anyways.
Not yet. I don't do
Not yet.
TikTok.
So one thing you mentioned when it came to you being taken advantage of in that way, not once but twice, was the second part. And I think so many people talk about that is where the person will sell you a dream, but eventually becomes a nightmare, right? Saying that, you know what, Terrain, I can give you the most beautiful children. I can take care of them. I remember someone telling me, this was years ago. I didn't share this the first time. I'll share this now. She
Mhm.
was someone that was like interested in me, and she was doing her sales pitch, but that's what I call it at this point, right? It's a sales pitch, so much so, right, Michelle?
Yes. Yes.
She was like, Terrain, no, you haven't had sex like the way I can have sex with you.
Promises, promises.
Promises, promises. Now, for those listening, did I actually take her up on an offer? No, I did not. Right? But that's the trap, right? Because it's like, and I was just talking to one of my friends today, it's like people that do that, their success rate isn't 100%, it's not 90%, it's not 80%, but it's high enough for them to keep trying because there's always a victim to be victimized. Would you agree?
I totally agree. There will always be those vulnerable, naive people who don't really know what it is. They've been married maybe 30 plus years. That's all they know has been marriage. And then you're out there, you're a little lonely, and maybe your husband or wife has died. It doesn't matter, it happens to men too. And those people are who they prey on, is the lonely, the vulnerable, and they don't they'll go for people. The target is to go for people with money, but they don't know that at first often, so they'll take a chance. Like you said, they'll take a chance, they'll keep trying, in hopes of getting the mother load.
Yes, yes. And one thing that I want to touch on as well is that they're very good at identifying a need in someone that maybe you're not intentionally letting on, like it's more subconscious. Like say, because some people think, oh, it's probably the 80-year-old uneducated woman who's very lonely and all she has is cats. Is like, no, no, no. They're executives,
Yes.
they're doctors, they're nurses. Like people will be surprised that it's more so the other way. It's not the barista that is just
Yep.
supplementing her retirement income. It's more people who are established because a lot of times, and I remember you mentioned this, is like you sit back and you're like, wow, did that actually happen to me?
Mhm.
Right?
Yeah.
And you also, when we talked about earlier today, is they're very strategic in
Oh,
who they look
very.
for, right? Like what's some of the
Yes.
ploys, what's some of the tools that they use to target these people, men and women alike?
Well, most of the time it is compliments. They will shower what they perceive to be a lonely person or a vulnerable, and they will shower them with compliments. They will pretend, again, with a future faker, they'll pretend that they want a future with a person. And somebody who is just freshly alone is like fresh bait to them. And so they often use that. They'll tell a woman who is, very hardy and maybe not super attractive, you are the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. You are, have such a great character. You are this, you are that. And so they'll flatter. Their flattery is a huge tool, promising the future, promising, I want to be with you. I can't wait till we're together. That's another one. And those are I would say those are the two top ploys that they use. And they use, I'm going to take you here and there. The future faker from last January, we spent many Sunday afternoons watching YouTube videos for a trip to Italy. That, hey, I'm half Italian. What, you think that's going to appeal to me? Yeah. And he asked specifically, if you could go anywhere in the world, where would it be? I have a feeling he does that to all of his targets. And then there's a pattern that they do. But the the promise of, we're going to take this fabulous trip, I'm going to plan it all. And to someone who's been single for 23 years, for a man to plan it all and do it, that kind of sounds good.
Yeah, I could imagine a life where no one has told me that I'm attractive. No one has told me that I'm a nice person. And here comes this, because they usually are attractive enough, right? Here comes this good looking woman, and she's like, Terrain, you look really good today. I like the way that outfit just compliments your eyes or your
Yes.
smile. And you start to feel a little bit good. And then all of a sudden, you start to see this person more and more, and you're like, is this a coincidence, or is this maybe the universe delivering to me what I always wanted? Because I think that's probably why so many people get wrapped up or get caught up so quickly, because it's something that they wanted, but not necessarily from that person, but someone in a healthy way. Is that part of the trap too? Because we want it, maybe not from that person, but it's like a drug and we want more, and it feels so good.
Yes, and I'm looking at the title of your podcast behind you, Behind the Shades. And that just sticks out to me because that's exactly and I know your podcast is a different meaning, but they hide behind shades. They hide behind this facade of flattery and promises to get what they want. And it's ultimately to get what they want. That's the whole end game. And what they want normally is money. Sometimes, though, they just want someone to say, I love you. They want to hear it from multiple women and or men, I love you, I love you, I love you. For a man to have a, that's maybe middle-aged, maybe a little balding back there, just a regular guy, and to have this drop dead gorgeous bombshell telling you they love you, don't tell me that's not a draw for a man. As it is for women. So that's it's they hide behind the shades of these things, these promises.
And I wonder how many of these people are narcissistic in a way, and the abuse that they're unleashing on some of these people, or the chaos that they bring into their lives, is like boosting their ego in a way. Like, look at me. I have Michelle over here. I have Claire down there. I have Joanne up the street. You begin to collect all these women and men like they're trophies, like they're rings, like they're an accomplishment, right? And then all of a sudden you're like, okay, I'm going to take you here, but you're paying for it. I'm going to go on this road trip, but you're financing it. It's like, it's like they don't realize that the dream that they're being sold, they're the ones who are actually financing the dream. Does that happen as well?
That does happen a lot. Sometimes the future fakers will, like the one I had, will say, you don't have to lift a dime. I will pay for everything. So sometimes, and at first, they will do that. But most of the time, as you're saying, it's to, yes, we're going to go here and go there. And, oh, I lost my credit card. Oh, whoops, I was transferring money and it got lost in the stratosphere. Can you front me